That's the big mistake that most people make. People don't think about, they think about time management, but they don't think about energy management. They don't think about, okay, if I actually show up with more energy to this hour of the day, I will get far more done. I will solve problems more quickly.
You're listening to 15M Mastery, a show that empowers you with insights from the leading iGaming experts to enhance your personal or business performance. The show is brought to you by tech-driven affiliate and media company Already Media, and supported by the AI-powered data analytics platform Blask. Yo Investments, a fund manager investing in outstanding people who are disrupting the iGaming, fintech, and crypto industries. And BC Game, the multi-award winning crypto casino with a player-centric approach. Hello and welcome back to 15M Mastery. Today, we got the one and only Leo Judkins with us, an expert in sustainable high performance. This is the first episode of 3-episode series with Leo. In today's episode, we are diving into how to optimize energy by focusing on sleep, stress, and recovery. Welcome, Leo.
Dima, so great to be back here. I'm such a fan of your podcast. I love the digestibleness, if that's even a word, of 15 minutes. So really excited to talk about this topic today.
Thanks a lot. Let's dive in. What are the biggest mistakes people make that leave them feeling constantly drained?
Yeah, I think like one of the biggest mistakes that people make is really about energy management, right? I often think about my 2019 MacBook Pro, it kind of, when it gets to 20%, it starts making a lot of noise. The CPU starts struggling, apps starts, not opening up, and all of the processes go a lot slower. And our brain is obviously very similar to that. A lot of people, wake up drained, wake up with half a battery. And as a result, halfway through the day, they're going to feel completely drained and their energy is gone. And as a result of that, they're going to, not be as creative. Problems are not going to get solved as quickly. You're going to get annoyed by people more easily, right? Because you're low on energy. And so it's kind of on two sides where the mistakes happen. On the one side, it's on kind of making sure that you arrive at the start of the day with a fully charged MacBook Pro, right, with your brain. And the second bit is to make sure that it's actually on a charger regularly during the day so that you recover. So it's about recharging, the day before and making sure that your battery is fully charged. And then the next day, it's also about recovery during the day. And I think just to answer your question directly, that's the big mistake that most people make. People don't think about, they think about time management, but they don't think about energy management. They don't think about, okay, if I actually show up with more energy to this hour of the day, I will get far more done. I will solve problems more quickly, and I will be able to just be a better leader. And just managing your energy better really, really solves that problem.
I love it. And I think in the first conversation we had, we talked a lot about sleep, and I want to understand whether sleep impacts energy levels and what are the practical tips for improving it.
Yeah, great question. So sleep, of course, is your charger, right? If we think about that same kind of MacBook, it's your charger overnight, and if you don't charge it, you're not gonna perform the next day. Actually, if you don't sleep, you're gonna die more quickly than if you don't eat. So it's a good example of how important it is. Also, there's loads of studies that show that if you always sleep too little, you are actually at the same level of performance as somebody that's legally drunk. So there's a lot of research that shows that sleep is the underlying kind of foundation to performance. I see that practically with all of the people that we coach. Like literally every single time, although we talk about time management, or we talk about productivity, or we talk about delegation, or about imposter syndrome, whatever it is, always the underpinning thing that accelerates performance is sleep. And practically, the most important things that you can do is, as an overarching thing, don't complicate it. Don't go and do a 15-step perfect routine, because it's just not going to work. What you should do is you should just do a little bit of sunset, what we call sunsetting. Close your devices down. Don't have any screen time. When you look it up online, it will tell you that you should do that an hour before you go to bed. And if you're not doing it now and you do it 10 minutes before bed, that is a great improvement from what you were doing before. So just start really simple and start kind of optimizing there. And then once you've done that, then in the morning, it's all about being proactive before being reactive. So, doing a little bit of work to not be on the back foot straight away and not be on everybody else's time schedule, but be on your own. So I think those are the two kind of key things that are super practical. Limiting your screen time before bed is absolutely the game changer. And then, of course, secondly, make sure that you get enough sleep.
I love it. I think this 1% improvement every day in every part of the routine you're doing is the key to success. I totally agree with you. I think where is the human being, we try to plan everything in the perfect way and we just never take it into the actions.
I think the other thing is also, Dima, is that not every step that we take has the same amount of impact, right? So, and what I mean with that is that you get Pareto principle, it's 80-20. You get 80% of the benefits just from doing something really simple as reducing your screen time before you go to bed. Whereas if you're going to, take melatonin as a supplement, okay, yeah, that definitely has some benefits, but it's the last few percentages, Get the basics right before you do it, but not just because it's the basics, but because it's the lowest effort, highest return investment. It's really about ROI.
Yeah, I love it. Can you explain a little bit more about the connection between stress and energy? And how can someone manage stress more effectively if it's possible?
Yeah, so stress, there's a few concepts around stress management. The first thing is that we all know if you get out of bed really badly, you had a bad night's sleep, you're just going to get annoyed all the time, right? You're going to get agitated. And that's the first thing. So we're talking about energy levels there. And like I said after the first question, really what we don't want to do is we want to make sure that we recover throughout the day to make sure that you're not constantly in this high pressure mode. And the way I like thinking about that is almost like having short sprints, right? As in development, you would have sprint cycles that are maybe 6 weeks. We want to do the same thing within our workday where our sprints are perhaps whatever that is for you, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes. And then you take a little bit of time to recover. Very famous principle is really about Pomodoro that most people probably will know. And that's just a kind of a fancy marketing technique, I suppose, because it's 25-5. Why 25? The research actually shows it's probably better to do 90 minutes to 2 hours. But the idea really is that 5-minute period or 10-minute period afterwards that you take to recover. And that is going to massively help you with reducing stress. Because if you're constantly on top of things and you never kind of pull back from it, then everything becomes harder. There's this amazing video on YouTube from this professor that stands there and he has a cup of water and he asks the class, what does this cup of water weigh? And the class says it's so many ounces and so many ounces and so many ounces. And the professor says, well, actually the weight doesn't matter. If I hold onto this for 5 minutes, it's not that heavy. If I hold onto it for an hour, it gets quite heavy. If I hold onto it for a day, it becomes unbearable. And this exact same is true with our work, with our stress management. You have to pull back. You have to put the glass down now and again.
I never thought about it that way. Wow, it actually changes perception about so many little things you do daily, and especially when you try to overperform. And, a lot of people, they try to be proud of having, all these sleepless nights, longest sessions. But it feels like, this is a wrong assumption.
Yeah, it's just about getting more out of the hours that you work, right? So it's not really it's fine if you work 12 hours, if you're found it, but it doesn't really, it's okay. But the amount of hours doesn't equate to the amount of output that you produce, right? So I think high performance is about optimizing the output that you get out of each hour. And that's not by pressurizing yourself harder. That's actually by decompressing regularly so that you can have these sprint intervals during the day. Because a day is like a marathon, and if we're going to try and sprint at a marathon, we're just going to fall over and puke everywhere. It's still going to work.
Yeah. So, it feels like you're talking a lot about the recovery and energy levels. So what role does recovery play in maintaining sustainable energy?
It is crucial because otherwise you're going to burn out. And a really great example is I was having a discussion with Dr. James Hewitt earlier today. He used to be the chief commercial officer for basically the coaching company that coaches all of the Formula One racers. And he was saying, look, AI is a great example of how we optimize our workload and how we become more productive and how we potentially have more time throughout our day. The problem is not creating more time in your day and creating more space in your day. The problem is that we have stopped being able to be bored and sit still. And so because we're unable to sit still and because we fill every single void with, scrolling something or perhaps working or perhaps social media, with dual screening, we can't even watch a film, without like being on our phones at the same time. Because that happens, we're always in this low level of energy expenditure, if that makes sense. And that just like not burnout, but that's slowly drains your energy over time. And so when you learn, and this is the hard bit, when you learn to actually actively recover by going like digital detox almost, right? By going analog, that massively helps with that energy recovery and therefore helps with, your overall performance through the day. But most of us just find that really, well, almost everybody I know finds that really hard because doing nothing or just being on a piece of paper is really tough. Your brain will just want you to interact with something because it's a dopamine addiction that constantly wants to be fed.
Yeah, I think that's why some of these like a one use case devices are becoming a big thing these days. Like, I don't know if you've seen this remarkable like a tablet. Yeah. So it doesn't have access to like, social media, whether you're on your iPad, you're constantly being bombarded with all your notifications and messages. So you cannot read, focus. You cannot, create without, the all these distractions. So I really like what you just said. I thought for a sec, like, did I ever watch the movie without even a second of disruption on my phone? I don't think I can remember these times.
And you know what, Dima? That's okay, right? That's totally okay. But it's like you can use those events to start practicing that because it's just practicing your focus again. And practicing that focus muscle will massively help you with your overall productivity as well. Because we all know that single tasking has the greatest benefits over multitasking, right? When it comes to like managing our distractions is really important. And like you've got to realize that every piece of technology is monetized based on user attention, right? User attention and retention, but it's monetized based on the amount of time that we spend within that application. So therefore, all of the notifications and all of the underlying tech will be built to distract us from what we're doing and get us back into that application. So instead of you being on the back foot and being almost like you're suffering from it, right? You're almost, you're on the back foot of it. You want to take charge. You want to take charge of your notification. You want to take charge of your attention. And a big piece of that is not just managing your technology, but is managing and practicing your focus muscle.
Maybe you can give us like some daily habits, examples to consistently optimize energy levels like that.
Yeah. Again, I'm like easy guy, right? Like keep it super simple, really important. Just block in breaks, right? And actively, we call it crowding in to crowd out. If you're struggling to have breaks because if you're having lunch, you want to be on your phone at the same time because you've got so much work to do, right? Which is like all of us almost, then that is an issue because you're not recovering. You're actually not having lunch. You might be thinking that you're having a lunch break, but you're actually not having a break. So what you want to do is you want to use mini moments, micro moments to practice that recovery, to practice just, even if it's 5 minutes, I think it's something like 70% can't even go to the toilet without having their phone, And so it's those micro moments that you want to practice to be able to recover and to re-energize. And when you do that, and when you find it hard to do that, then literally time block it in. We'll talk about this in the next episode as well, but time blocking is such a key important skill. Like anything that's important to us work-wise, we would schedule in, right? We would plan, we would create project plans around it. We would, we manage risks, we would mitigate things. And so why don't we do the same with our attention, our well-being, our well-being habits? Well, if it's something that you're struggling with, that's 100% what you should be doing.
Are there any like special tools you would recommend for this exercise? Like, should this be like, like a notepad or like any apps, or this should be just like a calendar app?
Yeah, analog. Well, for time blocking, just a calendar app. I think again, easier is better. I use a combination of Todoist with just my calendar. But I've more and more started using my calendar as my to-do list, and it's a really powerful way, because your to-do list can just be this long list of things that don't really have any context in terms of how important they are. One of the big skills that you want to practice is just being able to say no, right? And 80% of the things that you think you should be doing, you probably should be saying no to. So being able to do that, it's not really about prioritizing. It's about what you should say no to, if that makes sense, right? And yeah, then the other thing, the second piece of technology or tool that you should use is going analog, right? Like literally have a pen and paper to brain dump and be creative and not be behind the screen. It's a game changer, and it's just really basic stuff that we kind of started forgetting, I think, because we want to optimize every part of our life. And like our brain is a very, very powerful tool. We just have this like clutching grasp around it that is waiting to be released, and all you've got to do is just help release it.
I love it. Thank you so much for this incredible episode and these special insights and sharing them with us.
No problem. Very welcome.